All right, thank you so much, Thea, for sharing the results with us, results of the survey. So it's good to see that the reach of the ASEAN Cough crosses our borders, right? So we're having a slight difficulties on promoting our keynote speaker as a panelist. So perhaps Ms. Tony can accept. Oh, all right, she already accepted the request. So I think we can start the program proper. All right. Okay, so good morning, everyone. It is once again my pleasure to welcome you all to the 26th session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum. I'm Jeremiah from DOST-PAGASA, and I will serve as your Master of Ceremony for today. So we are being streamed live on the official Facebook and YouTube pages of DOST-PAGASA. So if you're watching this through any of these channels, feel free to share them with your friends, colleagues, and families so that they can also watch this program. All right, so we have now come to the last day of our week-long program, and I invite everyone to please join us for the opening ceremonies.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay.
Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting. Sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil.
Sa dagat ang tulong, sa simoy at sa langit mong lugaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal.
Ang iskap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidingding.
Ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may di magdidiin.
Sumanamanaw na buwan, aking pagsira, buhay ay natin sa Pinoy. Iwag ang ligaya na may pahali.
Ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
A whisper in the breeze, it calls our name. Across the seas, we are the same. Through tides that rise, through storms that wane, we sail as one beneath the sun. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
The stars above, they light our way from golden dawns to dusky grays. We weave the threads of hope today. With every shore, we dream for more.
One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time. One vision, one ocean, together in motion. We rise, we shine, we reach for the sky. One heart, one dream, through the waters we gleam. ASEAN, we are one till the end of time.
All right, thank you very much. You may now all settle down. And to officially start our program, let's hear a short welcome message from our administrator and the permanent representative of the Philippines with WMO, Dr. Nathaniel T. Servando.
Good morning everyone, distinguished guests, partners, and colleagues. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the final day of the 26th session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum. I am proud to say that this event is part of the series of activities that the Philippines is hosting, being chair of the Philippines being chair of ASEAN this year. Allow me to acknowledge our distinguished guests and partners joining us today. Foremost, the Honorable Secretary, Maria Antonia Yolo Loizaga, Special Envoy for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, Philippines. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today, despite of your busy schedule. Mr. Ben Churchill, Director of the Regional Office of for Asia and the Southwest Pacific of the World Meteorological Organization, or WMO. Mr. Kayuan Singh from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center. Mr. Peter Khalil Ferrer from RIMES. Ms. Krishna Potratanaj from the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management. And our partners from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, from the International Rice Research Institute, and other regional international organizations. Most importantly, I wish to express our deep gratitude to our users, our colleagues from various government agencies, the disaster risk reduction and management community, the agriculture and water sectors, the health sector, the energy sector, and other stakeholders. Your presence here today is a clear reminder that climate information only becomes meaningful when it is used. So we have more than 100 participants online, joining online. In fact, about 133, one of the biggest gatherings online. Over the past days, the ASEAN COP26 has demonstrated the strength of regional collaboration. Through technical discussions and shared expertise, we have developed a consensus outlook for the coming season, particularly El Nino is expected to emerge and projected to be very strong based from forecast from different forecast climate centers. And of course, today we turn our focus to an equally important aspect, ensuring that this information is translated into action. The theme of this year's forum, Navigating Our Future Together, Translating Climate Forecast into Action, highlights the need to bridge the gap between climate science and decision making. In Southeast Asia, climate risks remain significant. Floods, droughts, tropical cyclones, and heat extremes continue to affect community and economies across the region. In this context, the role of climate services is crucial. However, providing forecast alone is not sufficient. We must ensure that climate information is accessible, understandable, and relevant to the needs of users. This requires stronger engagement with the stakeholders across sectors: agriculture, disaster risk reduction, water management, health, and energy. Today's user engagement webinar provides an opportunity to strengthen this engagement. Through the presentations and discussions ahead, we will see how climate information is being applied in practice. We will learn from experiences, identify challenges, and explore ways to improve the delivery and use of this climate information and services. Equally important is the dialogue between providers and users of climate information. This dialogue allows us to better understand user needs and to refine our products and services accordingly. It ensures that our work has practical value and contributes to informed decision making. At ASEAN COP, we continue to strengthen our efforts in this area, enhancing climate services, advancing early warning systems, and promoting impact-based forecasting. At the same time, we recognize that effective climate action requires strong partnerships. Regional platforms such as the ASEAN COP play a key role in fostering collaboration and ensuring that climate information supports resilience and sustainable development. Before I end this message, I would like to express my gratitude to my colleagues at DOST-PAGASA for hosting and organizing this 26th session of the ASEAN COP. Despite the challenges of convening virtually, DOST-PAGASA has ensured that this forum remains to provide a strong and effective platform for regional cooperation. As we conclude this forum, it has affirmed our shared commitment to collaboration, innovation, and service. Let us continue working together to ensure that climate science informs decisions and supports our communities across the ASEAN region. Thank you for your continued participation and support. I wish everyone a meaningful and productive session. Mabuhay and good morning to everyone.
Thank you very much, Doc Nats, for that warm welcome message. Let's hear another welcome message from the Director of the Regional Office for Asia and the Southwest Pacific of the World Meteorological Organization, Mr. Ben Churchill.
Well, thank you and good morning, Your Excellencies. Madam Maria Antonia Yulo Loizaga, the Special Envoy of the President of the Philippines for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. And of course, as we just heard from Dr. Nathaniel T. Savando, the Permanent Representative of the Philippines with the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, and Administrator of the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA. Colleagues from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, member states, and the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services, distinguished partners, I will make a special call out to our users as well, very well represented, and ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Professor Celeste Saulo, the Secretary General of the WMO, and in the entire WMO Secretariat, which includes the Regional Office for Asia Pacific, of which I'm Director, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the 26th session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum, and in particular to the user engagement webinar on this, its last day. First, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Dr. Sabando, and also to DOST-PAGASA for kindly hosting this forum online, notwithstanding the challenging circumstances confronting all of us today. As always, I am extremely grateful to the ASEAN COF Working Group, coordinated by the ASEAN Specialised Meteorological Centre, ASMC, at the Centre for Climate Research, Singapore, which coincidentally also hosts our RAP office, comprising experts from our NMHSs in the region and key partners, including the UK Met Office under the Weather and Climate Information Services, or WISER, Asia Pacific program, and also the Regional Multi-Hazard Early Warning System for Africa and Asia, RIMES, for your invaluable support. My thanks go out also to the multiple global producing centres for seasonal prediction, which provide essential global and standardised forecast products and verification. In March this year, WMO launched its flagship report, The State of the Global Climate in 2025. This report confirms that 2015 to 2025 are the hottest 11 years on record, and that 2025 was the second or third hottest year on record at about 1.43 degrees Celsius above the 1850 to 1900 average. In Southeast Asia, Cyclone Senya, the first known system to reach tropical cyclone intensity in the Straits of Malacca, resulted in severe flooding in late November. Typhoons also caused record rainfall and flooding in Vietnam, as well as Thailand. Later in June and July, we will launch the State of the Climate in Asia and the Southwest Pacific reports, which provide more granular information on key climate indicators in the region. In the meantime, we are at the cusp of the return of an El Nino, with some predicting more extreme weather events and a rise in global temperatures to record heights. The signs are clear. Last month was the joint third warmest April on record globally. WMO's new global seasonal climate update signals a clear shift in the equatorial Pacific, with sea surface temperatures rising rapidly. I heard that a hot topic over the previous days was the Relative Oceanic Niño Index, or RONI, which seems to offer a clearer, more reliable way to track El Niño and La Niña. Several global centres and now increasingly ASEAN member states are adopting this new index alongside other traditional indices. While a fuller assessment of this impending El Niño will be available very soon, it is imperative that we work together to prepare ourselves. In our region, we can expect significantly drier conditions and its related challenges to hit us harder than usual with much reduced rainfall. It is therefore timely that the focus of ASEAN COP26 is to support the NMHSs to deliver actionable forecasts and support climate-informed decision-making. We're already seeing a surge in interest from national and international humanitarian agencies for this information, and it's good. In fact, it's very good that some of them are with us today. Climate information creates the most value when it informs decisions at the right time and at the right scale. So we must ensure that climate outlooks are not only produced, but are understood, accessible, and importantly, actionable by all. To truly protect lives and livelihoods, we must include representatives of social and economic sectors in the COF process. ASEAN COF is a prime example of effective regional collaboration that underpins national decision-making and results in tangible benefits. It is fully aligned with the principal objectives of the UN Early Warnings for All initiative, translating science into actionable information for governments, communities, and vulnerable sectors. In particular, it brings all relevant stakeholders together to forge consensus outlooks that will help take early and anticipatory action across all sectors. Our collaboration here this week also dovetails with WMO's active support for Climate Outlook and climate forums, as well as the work of the WMO regional associations in Asia and the Southwest Pacific, and of the Southeast Asia Regional Climate Centre Network, which I'm very pleased to say is nearing designation. Through these platforms, our members can achieve a base level of preparedness at the regional level, which continually improves their climate services. In closing, as we enter the final and public segment of this forum, you'll shortly be briefed on the Consensus Climate Outlook for June to August 2026. Then we will have a few presentations from our partners and fellow experts, including on pertinent topics such as impact-based forecasting. I have no doubt whatsoever that today's session will be instructive in preparing ourselves for the months ahead. So with that, I wish you all a highly productive and collaborative final day of ASEAN COP26. Thank you so much for your engagement, and I look forward to seeing many of you, hopefully in person, at future ASEAN COPs and other regional events. Thank you very much for your attention and your engagement today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Churchill. As always, we are very much grateful for your support, especially in PAGASA all these years. Let's hear another message from Mr. Kai Wonjeng from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center.
Thank you for the opportunity to deliver this welcome message. Her Excellency Maria Antonia, Special Envoy for Disaster Risk Reduction, Dr. Natalia Savanto, Administrator of the Department of Science and Technology, PAGASA, Mr. Ben Churchill, Director of the WMO Regional Office for Asia and Southwest Pacific. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. On behalf of the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the last day of the 26th ASEAN COP, where we turn our focus to user engagement. A warm thank you to PAGASA for hosting this forum and for bringing us all together this week. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the trainers from NOAA, the Bureau of Meteorology, and the UK Met Office for their excellent pre-climate outlook forum training, and to all the global producing centers and national meteorological and hydrological services for their contributions to the knowledge exchange and consensus outlook over the past few days. Today's webinar brings together a wonderful mix of voices from disaster risk management, agriculture, fisheries, and beyond. This is precisely what our team, Navigating Our Future, Together Translating Climate Forecasts into Actions, calls for. The work of our meteorological community does not end with the production of a forecast or an outlook. It is only complete when that information reaches the people who need it most, and when it is used to make better decisions on the ground. Whether it is a farmer planning for a season ahead or a disaster manager preparing for potential hazards, climate information has a vital role to play. Your presence and perspectives here today are what make that translation possible. With that, I wish everyone a fruitful and engaging session, and I look forward to the rich discussions and insights that today will bring, and to living with a stronger shared commitment to putting climate information into action. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for that warm message. And now to introduce to us our special guest who will deliver the keynote message, let's first welcome Ms. Telma A. Cinco from the DOST-PAGASA.
Thank you, Jaren. Sir, ano ka ba? Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for today, Her Excellency Maria Antonia Tony Yulu Luisaga, is the former Secretary of the Department of Environment and Natural Resources of the Philippines. She is the Special Envoy of the President for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. She likewise serves as a Special Consultant on Disaster Risk Reduction and Management strategies to the NDRMC and acts as the exclusive and official liaison of the NDRMC chairman to the private sector. As secretary, she revitalized the Philippines resource development sector by pushing strongly for responsible, resilient, sustainable investment to forestry, water, and minerals. Her leadership was grounded in science and inclusive consultation, evidence-informed policy innovation, and strategic engagement with the private sector, academia, and civil society. Tony established the department's Office for Integrated Environmental Science. Its natural resource geospatial database and the Philippines' first ocean environment task force linking ocean science with environmental protection and national security, Ceylon's Protect, Transform, a transdisciplinary initiative to build local governments resilient through their hands-on environmental and natural resource management. She led the Philippines delegation to the UN Framework on Convention on Climate Change, the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, and Convention on Biological Diversity. She obtained a seat for the Philippines on the board of Fund for Responding to Loss and Damage of FRLD in COP28 and hosted the Asia-Pacific Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in Manila in 2024. She spearheaded the Philippines' successful selection as the host country for the FRLD board last year. Before joining government, Tony worked in finance and property development while serving on boards of academic institution and science-focused foundation. She served as a technical advisor to the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation and became president of the National Resilience Council, a public-private partnership advancing climate goals and disaster risk reduction from 2017 to 2022. So from 2007 to 2016, she was the executive director of Manila Observatory, a 160-year-old scientific research institution specializing in atmospheric and earth sciences for sustainable development and community resilience. So let us all welcome Ms. Tony Loizaga as our keynote speaker. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Delma Cinco, for that lengthy introduction. Good morning to all. Good morning, Dr. Nathaniel Servando, our administrator of PAGASA, Mr. Ben Churchill, director of the Southwest Pacific WMO office, Sir Mr. Kayon Zeng of ASMC, and the other distinguished guests and delegates, colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to join you today on behalf of National Defense Secretary of the Government of the Philippines, Gilberto Teodoro Jr., for the user engagement webinar of the 26th session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum, or ASEAN COF. Allow me to extend our sincere appreciation to PAGASA, the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center, or ASMC, the WMO, the Regional Integrated Multi-Hazard Early Warning System, or RIMES, the United Kingdom's Met Office, or UKMO, and our ASEAN partners for organizing this very important forum and for continuously advancing regional cooperation on climate services and disaster resilience. ASEAN COF remains a vital platform that strengthens our collective understanding of climate risks and enhances cooperation among ASEAN member states. At a time when climate variability and extreme weather events are becoming more intense and frequent, and as risks in turn grow more complex, forums such as this are increasingly important in ensuring that scientific knowledge is translated into timely and meaningful action. In the Philippines, climate and weather information serve as critical foundations of our disaster risk reduction and management system. We recognize the effective disaster prevention, preparedness, and risk reduction. They begin with science-informed risk assessment, reliable forecasting, and timely dissemination of warnings. Seasonal climate outlooks provide valuable guidance which enable national agencies, local government units, sectors, and communities to craft strategies and adopt tools and technologies for resilience. Actionable weather information enables coordination and allows each to anticipate and prepare for potential impacts on lives, livelihoods, infrastructure, agriculture, water resources, energy, and public health. The Philippine DRRM framework promotes a transdisciplinary, whole of government, and whole of society approach. This means that prevention, preparedness, and resilience are shared responsibilities between scientific institutions, government agencies, local governments, the private sector, humanitarian organizations, civil society, and communities themselves. Impact-based forecasting must therefore be timely, user and needs-driven, and at the level of granularity necessary to be truly valuable to decision support systems of multiple stakeholders. This specificity is especially critical to transformative interventions that will build adaptive capacity in vulnerable populations. The theme of ASEAN COP26, translating climate forecasts into action, strongly aligns with the Philippines' continuing efforts to strengthen strategic and proactive disaster risk management. Forecast-based decision-making enables authorities to undertake and implement prevention and anticipatory actions, such as investing in resilient infrastructure, issue early warnings, design focused and targeted response, and trigger safety and protection measures such as preemptive evacuation that can lead to early recovery. The Philippines has institutionalized the Pre-Disaster Risk Assessment, or PIDRA, process since 2014 as a key anticipatory action mechanism. The PIDRA provides a comprehensive framework for assessing hazards, exposure, vulnerabilities, and potential impacts to support timely preparedness and response actions. Recently, the PIDRA was revised in terms of its guidelines, and it now places greater emphasis on looking at worst-case scenario-based risk assessment across all DRRM levels. In addition, the country continues to strengthen its early warning systems and impact-based forecasting capacities. Through the Emergency Alert and Warning Message System implemented by Republic Act number 10639, or the Free Mobile Disaster Alerts Act, hazard-specific and area-focused alerts are disseminated directly to the public. Various dissemination platforms, including advisories, digital communication channels, and monitoring dashboards, further help ensure that warnings are understandable, actionable, and people-centered. Having done this, however, we must all still continuously strive to make the last mile the first mile when addressing the needs of the most vulnerable. The Philippines, along with our ASEAN neighbors, continues to face increasing climate variability and the possibility of compound hazards and cascading risks associated with tropical cyclones, flooding, drought, extreme rainfall, and rising temperatures. But even as our climate is changing, we must note that our societies are changing as well. Our evolving needs and challenges, therefore, underscore the critical importance of stronger climate services, sustained investments in resilience building, and closer regional cooperation. As climate and disaster risks do not recognize national borders, ASEAN solidarity and cooperation remain indispensable to advancing regional resilience. Collaboration on climate outlook development, information sharing, capacity building, and science-informed disaster risk reduction significantly enhances our collective preparedness across the region. The Philippines highly values our continued partnership with ASEAN member states and international organizations in advancing climate-informed, people-centered DRRM strategies. As we move forward, the Philippines reaffirms its commitment to strengthen climate-informed disaster risk reduction, anticipatory action, and regional cooperation. We encourage continued collaboration among meteorological agencies, DRRM institutions, development partners, researchers, and users to ensure that climate information consistently leads to timely, coordinated, and life-saving action. We are confident that the ASEAN COP26 will further strengthen regional resilience and contribute to a safer, more adaptive, and disaster-resilient ASEAN community. Thank you very much. On behalf of Secretary Gilberto Chidora Jr., we wish everyone a productive ASEAN COP26. Maraming salamat.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Tony, for gracing us your presence and delivering the keynote message. For the solidarity message, let's hear from our partner at the Regional Integrated Multi-Hazard Early Warning System, or RIMES, Mr. Peter Khalil Ferrer.
Distinguished guests and colleagues, Her Excellency Maria Antonia Yulo Loizaga, Special Envoy for the Disaster Risk Reduction and Management, Dr. Nathaniel Servando, Administrator of PAGASA and Permanent Representative of the Philippines with WMO, Mr. Ben Churchill, Director of the Regional Office for Asia and the Southwest Pacific of the WMO, colleagues from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center and the AHA Center, representatives from the ASEAN NMHS, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to everyone. It is my honor to join you today, and on behalf of our Director General, Mr. Arjuna Permal Subaya, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to DOST-PAGASA for hosting the 26th session of the ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum, and to all ASEAN NMHSs, regional climate centers, partners, and participants joining us today. As our region continues to face increasing climate variability and extreme weather events, ASEAN COF remains an important platform for collaboration, learning, and regional solidarity. Beyond producing seasonal outlooks, ASEAN COF demonstrates the value of working together as a community, sharing expertise, experiences, and scientific knowledge to support better climate-informed decisions across Southeast Asia. Over the past days, we have seen meaningful discussions and exchanges among NMHSs, regional climate centers, and partners, reflecting the continued commitment of the ASEAN climate community to strengthen regional cooperation and climate services. These discussions are especially important as we continue exploring ways to make climate information more actionable, accessible, and responsive to the needs of our communities and decision makers. This year's theme, Navigating Our Future Together, Translating Climate Forecasts into Action, is both timely and meaningful. As climate risks become more complex and uncertain, there is an increasing need not only to improve our forecasts, but also to ensure that climate information becomes more understandable, actionable, and useful for governments, communities, and climate-sensitive sectors. RIMES is honored to continue supporting ASEAN COF and the broader efforts of ASEAN NMHSs in strengthening climate services, early warning systems, and regional cooperation. We also highly value the strong partnership among PAGASA, ASMC, WMO, the CRCC Network, UK Met Office, and all participating institutions that continue to make this forum possible. We also recognize that the strength of ASEAN COF lies not only in the science, but in the relationship and trust built among institutions and individuals over the years. These partnerships are essential as we collectively work toward more people-centered and impact-based climate services for the region. RIMES stands in solidarity with all ASEAN member states and partners in advancing inclusive, accessible, and action-oriented climate information services for the benefit of our communities. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a successful and productive continuation and closing of this 26th session of the ASEAN COF.
Thank you so much, Peter, for the continued support of RIMES in the conduct of the ASEAN COF. Another solidarity message will be delivered by Krishna Putra Chanaha from the ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management, or the AHA Center.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeremiah. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, partners and colleagues. On behalf of the AHA Center, I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to the DOST-PAGASA, SMC, WMO, RIMES, Wiser Asia Pacific, and all other partners for successfully convening the 26th ASEAN Climate Outlook Forum, or ASEAN COP26. The AHA Center highly values ASEAN COF as an important regional platform that strengthens collaborations among climate, meteorological, and disasters management communities across the Southeast Asia, helping translate climate information into actionable disaster management. Our region remains one of the most vulnerable regions in the world to hydrometeorological hazards. According to the ASEAN Disasters Information Network, or ADINET, more than 90% of disasters in ASEAN are associated with hydrometeorological hazards, including floods, tropical cyclones, storms, droughts, and rain-induced landslides. These disasters continue to affect millions of people every year, disrupting livelihoods, infrastructure, food security, and economic development across the region. Last year, Tropical Cyclone Senyar reminded us that even low probability events can result in severe and cascading regional impacts. Together with the northeast monsoon, Senyar affected several ASEAN member states, including Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, demonstrating how interconnected and exposed our region is to increasingly complex climate and weather-related hazards. These transboundary hazards remind us that while some hazards may occur infrequently, their consequences can be devastating if disaster management measures are insufficient. This year, with the El Nino expected to develop amidst the warmer climate, we are reminded to remain vigilant, strengthen our collaboration, and reinforce our collective solidarity to ensure a resilient ASEAN. This reinforces the importance of ASEAN Gulf. Climate outlooks, seasonal forecasts, and impact-based forecasting are not merely technical products, but essential tools to support early action and risk-informed decision-making, enabling us to respond to the disasters faster, mobilize greater resources, and establish stronger coordination, aligned with our commitment of the One ASEAN, One Response. This year's theme, Navigating Our Future Together, Translating Climate Forecasts into Action, strongly resonates with ASEAN commitment to strengthening resilience through collaboration and science-based decision-making. At the ASEAN Center, we continue to work closely with ASEAN member states and partners and stand ready to support and to strengthen disasters monitoring, regional information sharing, early monitoring, and preparedness efforts. We believe that stronger collaboration between the NMHS and the most regional and international partners, including academia and humanitarian organizations, will further strengthen our collective capacity to address emerging climate risk and protect vulnerable communities across ASEAN. Once again, we commend DOST-PAGASA, ASMC, WMO, RIMES, WISER, Asia Pacific, and all other partners, and wish you this forum to be a very success. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir, for that message. On behalf of the DOST-PAGASA and the OST and the whole team that put together this ASEAN COP26, allow me to extend our deepest thanks to all of you. And with that, we now move forward to the next part of our program. But before that, let's take a quick photo op session before we have our short health break to commemorate the last day of our session. So since we are using the webinar account of WNO, we won't be able to allow our participants to open their cameras. So I'd like to ask instead our panelists to please open your cameras and wear your best smiles. We only have one panel, so that's easy enough. So I'll be taking the screenshot now. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you so much. So we will now be having our very quick health break, let's say 2 minutes, and be back here and resume our program. I'll be starting the timer, and then we will now proceed with the presentations after that.
Karen. Jeren.
Yes, ma'am.
Nagkano siya nag-feedback?
I think sa end nyo lang po siya.
Yan hindi. Nag-feedback dito. Baka open. Hello? 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 Nag-e-echo pa rin. Hello? 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 Yan, okay naman. So, ganun na lang. Dito sa ano ko. Ikaw din. Auto. Hello? Nag-e-extend yung ano. Ikaw, Ann.
Okay, kaya salita ko. Okay. Sige. Sumabog na. Narinig.
All right, let's continue our program. I hope everybody is back inside the meeting room. So we have a lot of presentations stored for our participants for us to understand and of course appreciate the importance of a collaborative work for the ASEAN region and what has been done to improve our capacities in dealing with this changing climate. So just a few reminders before we begin. Each presenter will be given 15 minutes each to present. So please kindly take note of the time. And limit your discussion within the allotted time. So don't worry, I'll be flashing the timer here beside my head, and you'll hear a beep sound. And once the timer ends, you'll have 2 minutes to wrap up your presentation. Now, without further ado, let's begin with our first presenter, Ms. Annalisa Solis of DOST-PAGASA and representative of the ASEAN COF Working Group, who will now be presenting to us the consensus outlook for the June, July, August 2026 season.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Please,
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, so good morning, everyone, and distinguished guests and users of weather and climate services across Southeast Asia. So we are now in our fourth and final day of the ASEAN COP26, and we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to all the NMXS in Southeast Asia for your active participation throughout the 4-day ASEAN COP26 session, and for your valuable contributions to the discussions, presentations, and consensus process to come up with this consensus outlook for June, July, August 2026 season. So at this point in time, allow me to read the draft version of the ASEAN COP26 Outlook Bulletin for June, July, August for your review. Okay, so it says in terms of the conditions and outlook, recent sea surface temperature anomalies over the equatorial Pacific Ocean during April-May 2026 overall indicated ENSO neutral conditions were present. However, persistent warming over most of the Niño regions together with atmospheric indicators such as decreased cloudiness over most parts of Southeast Asia and anomalous low-level westerlies east of the Philippines support the development of El Niño-like conditions. Meanwhile, the Indian Ocean remains in neutral Indian Ocean dipole phase. International climate outlooks predict a moderate El Niño is likely to develop during June to August or June, July, August 2026. After June, July, August, most models predict continued strengthening into a strong to very strong El Niño, while the rest predict only moderate El Niño conditions to persist through the remainder of the year. If a very strong El Niño occurs, this does not necessarily indicate bigger impacts in Southeast Asia climate, but rather that typical impacts from El Niño events are more likely to occur. The IOD is also predicted to transition to positive IOD conditions through the latter part of 2026, although with less confidence than the predicted El Niño. The onset of the 2026 Southwest monsoon season has been or is expected to be near average across much of the ASEAN region, except for over Vietnam and Laos PDR, where the later than average onset occurred. Overall, the strength of the Southwest monsoon is predicted to be near or stronger than average over most parts of Southeast Asia. For June, July, August 2026, tropical cyclone frequency is predicted to be below to near average across the region. For temperature outlook, above normal temperatures are expected across most parts of Southeast Asia. The exception is over the southern maritime continent and parts of northern Vietnam and southern and coastal Myanmar, where near to above normal temperatures are predicted. For rainfall, below normal rainfall conditions are likely over much of the maritime continent, including the southern Philippines, Brunei Darussalam, and Singapore. The exception is over Malaysia, where below to near normal or near normal rainfall is predicted for much of the country, and central and northern Philippines, where a mix of near to above normal rainfall is predicted. A mix of below to average normal rainfall is predicted over mainland Southeast Asia. Below to near normal rainfall is predicted over central Thailand, parts of southern Thailand, central Cambodia, and southern Vietnam. Near normal rainfall is predicted over the northern half of Myanmar, southern Laos PDR, and mountainous regions of northern Vietnam and southern Vietnam. Above normal rainfall is predicted over coastal and southern Myanmar and parts of northern Laos PDR, with near to above normal rainfall over parts of northern Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. So this is the consensus draft outlook for June, July, August 2026. And this initial draft is available for further refinement. For ASEAN NMHS participants, members of the ASEAN COP Working Group, please kindly share your comments, corrections, or suggestions by 27 May 2026, around 09 UTC, to allow the ASEAN COP Secretariat to finalize the bulletin for official release. And we are targeting that on or before 30th May, these can be published to the official website maintained by ASMC Singapore, as well as at the WMO website. So once again, so thank you very much for your active involvement these past 4 days, and see you at the next ASEAN COP 27 in November. Thank you. Back to you, Jeremy.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Anna, for presenting to us the consensus outlook for the next June, July, August 2026 season. For our next presentation, it will be delivered by the senior scientist from the International Rice Research Institute, Dr. Alice Laborte. Her presentation is titled Climate Plus, Integrating Climate Forecasts, Spatial Analytics, and Agro Advisories. Go ahead, ma'am.
Should I share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay.
Po.
One moment. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much for this invitation, distinguished guests and participants. I'm very pleased to share with you our work at the International Rice Research Institute in partnership with DOST-PAGASA in translating forecasts into actionable advisories for rice farmers. This research is under the CGR Climate Action Science Program, and also in collaboration with the Alliance of Biodiversity and SIAT, the Department of Agriculture Regional Field Office 5, Field Rice and Agricultural Training Institute. So first, let me talk about, one moment, because I cannot. Can you see the full screen? You can
Yes,
see the
ma'am.
entire presentation? Okay. So first, let me talk about the Rice Crop Manager Advisory Service. So this is a web and mobile phone-based digital agricultural platform that consolidates farmer and field registration, field georeferencing, advisories, data management, and reporting. So this has been developed with support from the DA National Rice Program and has been operationalized. So this is already being implemented throughout the country through our regional field offices and agricultural technicians. So here, agricultural technicians armed with the Rice Crop Manager Advisory Service interviews farmers and gives them a one-page recommendations that provide information on use of quality seeds, no early spraying, for example, and nutrient management recommendations. So in terms of what grade of fertilizer to apply, when, and how much. So these pre-season recommendations are provided to farmers in the form of a one-page printout and then reinforced in season with SMS reminders. So as I mentioned, this is already operational, but there is no in-season adjustments. So of course, like if there's strong rain or there is typhoon, there should be adjustments in the way farmers are provided with advisory. So this is what we are doing right now in collaboration with PAGASA. Okay, to translate the weather, seasonal and 10-day forecast coming from PAGASA and inform this Rice Crop Manager Advisory Service to adjust the recommendations given to farmers. So essentially, this gets the forecast from PAGASA, also including when there's a typhoon about to enter the country. So this is how it works. Let me just remove this part because I cannot see. And so RC gets from PAGASA forecast through an API, enabling timely weather-adjusted recommendations. So so whether informed agro advices are auto-generated and sent to farmers as SMS. No? So sending of SMS is supported by the DA Agricultural Training Institute via the existing platform and farmer contract services. So what Climate Plus does is it translates the weather information into crop stage specific and context aware and actionable advisories that farmers can realistically implement to protect their investment and reduce their costs. Now, of course, you can provide more general advisories, but what Climate Plus does is it adjusts based on the crop growth stage, because you will have a different advisory depending on the crop growth stage of the farmers. So for this particular implementation, we have piloted this in learning sites in the 2024 wet season and reached 226 farmers in Camarines Sur. And in the 2025 wet season, we provided advisories to 16,000 farmers in Isabela and Bicol region. And we also bundled this in cooperation with the Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation with insurance. So how does the Climate Plus framework look like? So we have a two-layer decision logic. So the first one based on PAGASA 6-month forecast and also field location, whether the field of the farmer is flown to flood and his crop calendar and water regime. So whether it's irrigated or rain-fed and whether he has available supplemental irrigation. And based on the 6-month forecast, the potential climate risk for that farmer is assessed, and then whether informed agro advisories is provided. The second stage, or the second layer, is looking at the 10-day forecast. So based on the estimated critical rice growth stage, the recommended fertilizer rates, an SMS is sent to adjust the recommendation given to farmers. So let me illustrate by providing specific example. So let's say during the panicle initiation stage of the crop, let's say from PAGASA, we receive a 10-day forecast that there is moderate rainfall for 2 consecutive days. So the agro advisory for that particular farmer is to delay fertilizer application. Also, so the message that he would receive through SMS is, "Hi, farmer name, based on the 10-day weather forecast for your municipality, there will be moderate rainfall from August 23 to 24 during panicle initiation stage. So you should delay fertilizer application and apply the recommended rate after floodwater recedes." So if there is another forecast of, let's say, heavy rainfall during maturity or harvest stage of the field of the farmer, then he will receive this message to harvest early if possible and protect the grain. Also, you can see the criticality of knowing when or at which crop growth stage the field is, because you will provide a different agro advisory depending on the growth stage. So here, the advisory is, okay, strong wind and heavy rain are expected from October 23 onwards, and during maturity stage, harvest early and protect grains from wetting. So based on the implementation in the wet season in 2024, these are the results. So 69% of the farmers we interviewed said that the weather-informed advisories were easy to understand. 60% of the farmers indicated the weather-informed advisories were accurate. 80% of farmers indicated the weather-informed advisories were helpful. And 74% of farmers believed they reduced their losses due to the advisories, with the help of the advisories. So looking at, for example, in the results, 94% adjusted their fertilizer application due to the advisory on heavy rainfall, and 94% adjusted their fertilizer application due to limited rainfall. So because those are also two important things. And then 55% harvested early as a result of the recommendation. Based on the survey, looking at the yield comparison, those who harvested early and followed the recommendation, their yield was 2.1 tons per hectare. Of course, this is a bit low, but of course there was some situation there with regard to that affected the yield. But those who did not harvest early harvested much lower, at 1.8 tons per hectare. So we are only looking at For this particular implementation, we only looked at rainfall, but we are improving the system in collaboration, of course, with PAGASA, talking with them. So our agronomists are talking with them closely to see what other recommendations we can provide based on, the weather forecasts that are available, and how can we further improve the recommendations for the layer 1 pre-season recommendation, as well as the second layer, which is the in-season recommendation. So we do have several discussions, also looking at pests and diseases. Of course, drought is a very important consideration, particularly this year, and that is going to be implemented within the year. So these are also additional references and advisories based on, for example, looking also at drought and salinity exposure in addition to yield. To rainfall, sorry. So Climate Plus also integrates data from different levels. So we also look at, as I mentioned already, 6-month seasonal forecast, whether it's above, near, or below normal, and where it is used in the 2-layer framework. The synoptic station is also being used. We're also looking at the municipal level in terms of the 10-day forecast, and also typhoon damage records, and also looking now at the barangay level in terms of the flood-prone rice areas. These are also coming from satellite-based assessment, also from the Philippine Rice Information System, coming from PhilRice. And we're also looking at field level data coming from the RCM historical data. So what we are doing right now is to further enhance Climate Plus, improving the decision logic using API shared by PAGASA, forecast on temperature, humidity, and inclusion of probabilistic weather forecasts in the Philippines to improve the agro-advisory. So the upgraded solution will be replicated in India, particularly Odisha, to enable localized and data-driven agro-advisories. We're also doing capacity enhancement, stakeholder engagement, to strengthen the institutional and human capacities and Climate Plus operation in the Philippines, and also conduct multi-stakeholder engagement to co-develop pathways for scaling and sustainability. Recently, we also held a human-centered design workshop, and this will be applied to refine content, format, delivery, timing, and localization of Climate Plus. In addition to that work, we're also looking at early warning system for floods. So this is a work being led by the Alliance of Biodiversity in NCIAT to fine-tune and validate a low-compute rice flood inundation model for the Philippines, using present data to support operations of regional field office in Bicol region, including engagement and training of partners and the development of a strategy for model integration within their operational procedures. Rice Crop Manager has been developed in other countries. I mentioned already Odisha in India, but also in Indonesia and in Kanto province in Vietnam. So technically this Climate Plus integration with agro-advisors can also, integration with a forecast can also be included in these other countries where RCM is already operational. With that, I would like to end my presentation and once again, thank our partners and also thank you for this opportunity to share our work together with DOST PAGASA and our other partners in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Alice. I'm really amazed, Doc. No, it's very interesting to see and hear that our forecast products are being actually applied by our partner farmers and yielded actually very good results. And as always, we thank ERI for their continued support and for sharing with us this very interesting and extremely useful innovations, especially to our farmers and agricultural extension workers. So our next presentation would be the ENSO primer for ASEAN agriculture sector to be presented by Dr. Piotr Wolski from the University of Cape Town.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Can you hear me? Yes, that's fine. Can I share the screen?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. I have to figure out how to do it. Not this one. Stop. Again, sure. This one. All right, can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir. We can see your presentation.
Fantastic. I'll put in a slide in a presentation mode, and off we go. So good morning, everyone. My name is Piotr Wolski. I come to you from Climate System Analysis Group from University of Cape Town in South Africa. And I wanted to present a short talk about impacts of ENSO and El Nino on Asian climate and agriculture that is created as together with my colleague Catherine Antia in the framework of a short project organized by the FAO and Specialized Meteorological Center. So the scope of this activity, the scope of this project is regional rather than local, and we focus here on drought and agriculture, and we want to illustrate where and when El Nino impacts occur at a regional level based on analysis of historical data. So we're not looking at forecasts, we're looking at historical data and try to unpack to understand how intense and where the impacts are. So the audience of this is really the people who are working in the agriculture sector and perhaps meteorology. So I probably won't be telling many new things, but we try to compile the state of knowledge and compile results of some dedicated data analysis to create that picture of what is happening in the region in response to El Niños. Also, to start, I wanted to show you how do we have our approach to index ENSO to understand when the El Niños occurs, and basically it's all done using ENSO, one of the many ENSO indices. The standard are Niño 3.4 and Ocean Niño Index, and perhaps Niño Modoki. But those traditional indices are based on temporal anomaly of sea surface temperature in the Pacific Ocean. And they don't take into account the global warming, the overall increase in temperature. So it might appear that El Niños are increasing in intensity in time. So we've used a recently developed new index, which is called Relative Oceanic Niño Index, that takes into account spatial anomalies in Niño region, and does not show intensification of recent Niños compared to historical ones. So that's considered more appropriate because the impact is expected to be, or influence on the atmosphere is expected to be resulting from those relative anomalies, from the spatial anomalies, as well as the temporal. Now to contextualize the impacts of El Niños, we have to look at the diverse climates within the region, and we've basically unpacked this, evaluating two different. There's several sub-regions, but considering them within the framework of a rainfall seasonality. So we have this what we call summer rainfall regime in the northern part of the region, with rains between May and October, and which are driven by southwest monsoon. And to the south, we have the Austral summer, or boreal winter. We use the boreal winter here in this report, in those analysis. And in that southern region, it rains more between October and May, So there is no clear dry season, of course. So it rains more during the rainy season, and that rain is driven by northeast monsoon. So now, how does the seasonality of rainfall align with the seasonality of ENSO? As this figure illustrates, we have those different seasons, different rainy seasons in different regions. To the north, we would have a rainy season that basically aligns with the development phase of ENSO during the El Niño years. In the period between May roughly and October, November, December, we have a peak of El Niño, and during the decay, so that and then follows a decay phase. And the rainy season in the winter rainfall regime to the south of the region would align with a peak and decay of the El Niño evolution. Now we can start unpacking how does El Niño affect those different subregions and reasons and seasons. Anomalies under El Niño, rainfall anomalies under El Niño, which are illustrated here, are almost exclusively negative. There are some regions where they are positive, but very, very small ones. So in general, El Niño leads to reduced rainfall across the entire region. But those magnitudes of anomalies vary strongly between seasons and subregions. So we have particularly, so in this figure I show when the main rainy seasons occur using those rectangles there. So we can see that the strongest anomalies, rainfall anomalies, fall actually outside of those main rainy seasons, showing us that that the strong impacts are during the dry season, basically in both rainfall regions, to the north and to the south. And I don't show it here, but going to other data, we can see that the rainfall anomalies are driven mostly by reduction in rain days rather than reduction in the rainfall intensities. And the anomalies in rainfall result in expected in the same direction of anomalies in indices that are other indices, environmental indices that are strongly linked to rainfall. So indices such as NDVI and soil moisture show patterns related to rainfall anomalies. Now we can look at the temperature anomalies, and again, we see mostly in the warmer temperatures, although not everywhere, not in all regions. And those temperature anomalies appear to be strong only after El Niño peaks, so in December to May. In some regions, actually, according to this particular data set, appears that there are cooler conditions during El Niño, for example, in Myanmar. Now, if we start unpacking rainfall anomalies, we see that although in general, on average, El Niño leads to lower rainfall in the region across all the subregions. The individual El Niño years are not necessarily dry. So most of the driest years experienced historically were under El Niño conditions. But in some years, even though there wasn't El Niño, in some years, regions experienced average or above average rainfall. And particularly Myanmar and central mainland East Asia do not show very strong anomalies and under El Niño, and show quite a lot of wet years during El Niño conditions. So looking at those individual years and counting them, we can derive empirical probability of a year being a drought year. That is based on those historical data, and that map shows those probabilities. And you can see that we have basically very strong, very high probabilities, very high likelihood of a year being a drought year. We're looking here at 1 in 3 years drought under El Nino in the southern region, in a maritime continent region, in a winter rainfall region. And in the north, in the summer rainfall region, those probabilities are much lower. And basically, we see no influence of El Nino in Myanmar, but some very sort of divided conditions. Those probabilities would express, the probability, the possibility that an El Nino year materializes as wet or dry. So those probabilities are relatively low in the northern region, in a mainland East Asia, and slightly higher in the Philippines. Now we can look at what is a combined impact of ENSO and IOD, IOD being another large-scale climate driver that influences rainfall regionally and globally. And I compiled here anomalies, similar picture, and then this identical picture to the one that I showed previously, and another one where we identified years that had a strong positive IOD and were El Nino years, which is roughly half of all the El Nino years in the historical times. And you can see that the overall magnitude of anomalies does not change, but we do not have those wet years under IOD conditions. And it appears that IOD increases drought, increases the severity of rainfall anomalies only in this region, in the central mainland Asia. Now we also unpacked how do the El Nino-driven anomalous rainfall anomalies link to the growing seasons, and that analysis is done on the country basis, because that links to analysis of production anomalies and anomalies in yield of various crops, and those data are available only at the country level. And in here, we could see that that there is. I've mentioned that El Nino-driven anomalies, rainfall anomalies, manifest strongly in dry season, and this aligns mostly with the secondary rice growing season. So we can see those anomalies being strong, for example, in the Philippines. And in the winter rainfall region countries, in the mainland Southeast Asia, we would have impact mostly on during the harvest phase of the first year of El Nino, and during planting phase of the second year of El Nino. And notably, Philippines and Vietnam show slightly different patterns there, perhaps because they have different patterns of rainfall anomalies with respect to planting seasons, because those planting seasons are slightly different than elsewhere there. So do we see impacts of historical ends, El Niños in agricultural production? That's rather tricky to show because when we look at historical figures of production, they are dominated by long-term trend, long-term increases in production yield, in production in planted area. And what we do for those analyses, we basically run a running mean of each of those production curves, calculate anomalies, and try to relate those anomalies back to ENSO and El Niño. And what we see here is that anomalies in general correlate negatively with El Niño. So we have lower yields under El Niño conditions. But that negative anomaly is only consistent for the second year output. So for the output during the second year of El Niño. So the year when the decay phase occurs. Correlations during the first year of El Niño they vary between the countries, and perhaps that variation results from the fact from this sort of alignment of cropping pattern and the strength of the rainfall anomalies during particular parts of the growing season, but we haven't unpacked it in that detail yet. We also tried to analyze a combined effect of ENSO and global fertilizer prices, which is relatively relevant this year. But we could see very little combined impact. But again, this is probably because of the deficiency of long-term data here.
Apologies,
We also looked
Dr.
at
Wolski, for
yes,
cutting you off.
I'm about to
Kindly,
finish.
please wrap up your presentation in the interest of time.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, that's the one before the slide. So we also looked at the impact of El Niño on fisheries, but it appears that it's that there is a strong signal of ENSO in terms of sea surface temperatures, with cooler temperatures during the development phase of El Niños and strong warming on the peak and at the decay phase. But the complexity of so there is a potential that there is impact, but we didn't manage to unpack this in detail because it's a rather complex system. There is many factors, confounding factors that affect potentially fisheries yields. So to finalize, we have a couple of messages here. We know that El Niño is associated with lower rainfall, warmer temperatures in the region, but those rainfall anomalies vary between subregions and across the seasons. We have understanding that not all El Niños result in drought, but there is a higher chance of drought in the winter rainfall region than in the summer rainfall region. And El Niños affect agricultural production with impacts manifested consistently across the region during the second year, but less consistently during the first year of the El Niño episode. For rice, those impacts results from how the seasonally varying rainfall anomalies align with phases of the growing season. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Wolski. Very interesting study. It can actually help us understand more about the relationship of ENSO with rainfall, not just locally, but also regionally. Very helpful indeed, especially in the context of agricultural planning. So once again, thank you very much. Our next presentation would be coming from Mr. Tenshu Dorji, the International CIS Specialist of the FAO Philippines. He will be presenting to us the development of the National Subnational CIS Platform for Agriculture and Fisheries in the Philippines.
Okay, good morning. Just give me a moment. Okay, yeah. Let me check. So, are you able to see my screen, Jared?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So, maybe I'll stop the video. So, good morning, and I hope maybe good afternoon to some. So, I'm Senchu Doji, as Jerem mentioned, working with the FEO Philippines. So I'll be briefly discussing our ongoing work. So no much of technicalities or the use case applications, but our efforts in terms of developing climate services for agriculture. So it is more of a holistic approach than or a use case scenario or a single event. So we are taking our work across all stages of agriculture planning, and also planning from short term to long term. So in a way, we are building long term climate resilience in the agriculture sector. So partners for building climate resilience in the agriculture sector. So particularly we have an ongoing project, which is one of the biggest project in the Philippines when it comes to the climate resilience in the agriculture sector, and we are partnering with the Department of Agriculture, PAGASA, and the project is funded by the Green Climate Fund. So at the national level, FAO, the Department of Agriculture, and PAGASA, all these three agencies are the implementing agencies. At the same time, FAO is also the accredited entity. So collaboratively, we are partnering to build long-term resilience in the face of climate change in the agriculture sector in the Philippines. So just to provide you an overview, a quick glimpse of the project. The project is a 7-year project, which started in 2024. And the project has cross-cutting themes. So we are working on both, the adaptation aspects as well as the mitigation aspects. And the project is spread across the whole nation, starting from south to the north, across 5 regions and 9 provinces, and also 100 municipalities. Within the 100 municipalities, we have also established learning groups, although the process of establishing the learning group is still going on. So we'll be, by the end of 2028, we will have already established 1,500 learning groups where we will engage the farmers in the CIS, Climate Information Services learning, climate resilience technology learning, and then mainstreaming of gender and environmental social safeguards in both CIS and CRA practices. So the project has 3 main outcomes. So the outcome 1 is strengthening institutional capacity for developing climate information services to support climate resilient agriculture. So this is the component which I'm currently leading. And then the other 2 component is the one is on adoption of climate resilient technologies and also developing enterprises by the farmers. The third one is then mainstreaming, the climate resilient frameworks, the markets, the gender, and other environmental social safeguards into both climate resilient practices as well as the climate information services. So now coming back to the outcome 1, so how we are looking at in terms of strengthening institutional capacity for climate information services. So in 2024, when the project started, what we did was we did an assessment across these 5 regions, trying to understand the existing capacities in terms of, climate services and the gaps, and also, the plans or activities that each stakeholders may have, moving forward. And what we did is we assess, in 4 areas, the capacity to use and implement climate services or climate information services in their specific applications. We looked at the product utilizations because as you all are aware, PAGASA has a range of, information starting from nowcasting to climate change projection, and we really wanted to see how these products are being utilized, whether it is optimally utilized or underutilized, or somehow in the moderate usage. And then we also looked at infrastructures particularly in the regions and provinces, as well as in the municipalities, the infrastructures to enable climate services use. And thirdly, we looked at the institutional collaboration and coordination in terms of applying, generating, and then disseminating or communicating climate information services from the center agencies to the farmers or to the end users, and then the feedback mechanisms that are existing within the existing setup. And then based on our findings, what we have come out is we came out with an objective. So what we wanted to do is based on our findings, we wanted to link science and institutions and society to strengthen how we use climate information services for our day-to-day planning or our long-term planning or our long-term investments. So what we are aiming is we want to leverage or take advantage of the global knowledge, global resources, global skills, then bringing it, coupling it with the regional resources and skills, such as from ASEAN or other, regional centers, and then bringing this down to the national level, further strengthening the national products and services of PAGASA. And then at the same time, at the national level, we have the Department of Agriculture, who is responsible and is the frontliner in terms of dealing with the farmers. So they have this agriculture technology, agriculture data and information. So at the national level, we wanted to bring, PAGASA and Department of Agriculture together to develop relevant climate agro-meteorological information and services to the farmers. So at the national level, how we are developing the capacity is through trainings, regional workshops, focus group discussion, annual forums, and also through the development of tools and systems and guidance to enable, to capacitate our national partners, the PAGASA and DA for the climate information services. And when we do these things, our objective is to be, user-centric. So meaning whatever we generate in terms of the climate information services, whether we use it seasonal forecast, whether we use it medium range weather forecast, or whether we use historical observations, those information, the end output that we generate is user-centric, and meaning, if you develop risk thresholds for heavy rainfalls, then it has to be user-centric, meaning it should be location-specific, the community specific, because what we have found out is there are a lot of thresholds being developed as currently, and then those thresholds do not fit or is not reliable or relevant to all the communities. So that has to be, user-centric, and similarly simplified impact outlooks, and then ultimately actionable advisories. So in order to uptake these kind of location-specific, actionable information, the community or the farmers needs to be capacitated. So how we are doing it through, as I mentioned, learning groups, then farmers field school, and also we are consistently carrying out trainings and advocacies with the farmers, with the provincial, with the municipal, staff, in terms of how to use this climate information, where to access, how to use, how to communicate, and also what are the limitations when you use these climate information services. So ultimately, through these, analysis, building these aims and objectives, what we found, what we realize is we need to build up or strengthen CIS governance. So meaning we need to have a proper institutional structure that enables the CIS, climate information development, enables communication, and enables consistent feedback so that the climate information or the climate services are consistently improved and is relevant to each specific users. So based on the global framework for climate services and also the national framework of climate services of WMO, we came out with this structure, the climate, we call it CIS, Climate Information Services Implementation Framework. So this is an institutional mechanism, a multi-stakeholder mechanism to enhance not just the coordination. So coordination does exist, but the collaboration is limited as of now between the agencies when it comes to climate services. So we wanted to strengthen the collaboration and then institutional partnership as well as their roles and responsibilities. So through this structure, so we have the plans are already in place, and we are currently in the process of setting up these institutional setups. So we have National Climate Information Services Center, which will be hosted at Department of Agriculture Center Office. So we are putting Department of Agriculture as a pivotal here, because when it comes to agriculture, we are dealing with the farmers, fishers, and other sectors, farming sectors, in which Department of Agriculture is the the frontliner, the main agency communicating with those sectors. And then at the same time, with the equal responsibility at the national level, so we have PAGASA, who will be supporting the Department of Agriculture for climate services. That would include a range of weather and climate information and data. And then we have something called CIS support system. So we have multi-stakeholder or interdisciplinary technical working groups set up at the national level, the regional level, and provincial level with specific TOR. So, but overall, their main responsibility is to provide strategic guidance in terms of developing climate information services, climate resilient technologies, and also vetting on the technologies that we introduce, whether this is relevant, whether this will be workable or not. So they will be the ones who will be guiding the national centers. And then to further support this national CIS centers, we have 5 regional CIS centers as of now in the 5 project regions, then provincial CIS centers, which would be supporting the regional centers. So those information from the national will be disseminated to or transferred to the regions. Regions will have their own region specific information, and then accordingly the provinces will have their own provincial specific weather and climate information, ultimately disseminating to farmers. And then it also allows a structured mechanism to collect feedback from the communities to the provincial centers to regional, and then the national centers for improvement of consistent improvement of climate information services. So ultimately, this framework allows the institutionalization of climate information services within the national institutional setup, so that even after the phase out of the projects, the use of CIS is sustained, which otherwise at present is not the case, except for few projects. A lot of climate related projects which are supported through projects have not been sustained after the project phased out. So that was one of the main gaps. And through the CIS implementation framework, by establishing this institutional mechanism, so what we are looking at is to sustain this CIS use even beyond the project phases. And this is more, a complex system, how information will be flowing within this CIS implementation framework, how we will be developing these agrometeorological services and products. So I'll not discuss this into detail, but this system actually delineates, specific roles and responsibilities of each stakeholders at each level, as you've seen, the national, the regional, and the provincial. So this is how it will flow. And also, it also sets up clear guidelines and clear structures in how we should be collecting feedbacks, so that, there is consistent improvement in input in terms for improving those agrometeorological advisories or agrometeorological informations and products. So just to conclude on the framework development, so when we were developing this framework, which I just mentioned, so how we engage is not just the national stakeholder, but we engage the stakeholders starting from national to the regional, provinces, municipals, and even the communities. We also sat together with the farmers and discuss them, what are the challenges of accessing climate information as of now, and what are the other options that you see then enables you to use those information consistently in a more sustained way. So that's this. And then in order to enable this, we have also developed a climate information services platform. And to most of the NHMS, you may be aware that WMA has something called Climate Services Toolkit. So this climate information services platform that we are currently developing, in a way, functions as a climate services toolkit, but with more features and capabilities. So meaning it is similar to climate services toolkit, which is what kind of a one-stop shop for climate data, forecast tools and guidance. But it also enables or works as a decision support tool, which Edie has earlier presented, similar to this one, but we are not focused on one specific crop or one specific event. So this platform will also serve as a decision support system that ultimately you'll be able to provide localized and user-specific actionable advisories across different time scales. For the starting, we are using seasonal forecast and also the medium range, which is 10 days weather forecast from PAGASA. And another key aspect that we have involved is while developing these formats and also the advisory formats, the structures, how we will communicate this information, it's not how we want it, or it's not how PAGASA or DA want it. We involve our farmers, like what kind of format you would want it. Because what we have found out is, although there's a variety or numerous weather and climate information, but these are not, location specific, or they are not tailored to the specific need of the farmers. So we really need to sit with them and, ask them, although the weather information available is already relevant to the region, they are not able to consume. So in order to make that information consumable, so engaging these local communities is very critical. So yeah, this is the last slide. So
Okay.
as of now, we have already generated these informations, although the work is still in progress. So the main area of our work, we will be focusing on the seasonal climate advisory for agriculture, then the 10-day, 5 days, and also based on PAGASA's, the ENSO alerts, we are also providing ENSO bulletins specifically for agriculture, and then agroclimatic information, particularly the pest degree days, and also growing degree days. And key lessons learned is, although this is just work in progress, as I mentioned, but what we have found out is if you are able to engage the local communities, if you are able to engage the local agencies, such as regions and provinces, then the sustainability is assured. So if you see in the picture, this is from one of the regional CIS centers that in Region 5, and now they have become better than the national CIS centers because they are consistently working, and they are consistently interacting with the farmers in the provinces and in the communities. And then also what is important is also having this structured institutional mechanism is key to the sustenance of these kind of centers, or the sustenance of climate information flow. So what we have found is the institutionalization or implementation of CIS implementation framework has further enhance the sustenance of climate information services across the nation, from the national to the region, provinces, and then, feedback mechanisms from the communities until the national CIS center. So I will stop here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tencho. So as you can see, a lot has been done by the GCF-APA project, and we are still planning to do more in the coming years. So to all our participants, you can use the Q&A button to submit your questions to our resource persons. So we will answer them during our open forum session. So our RPs, I can see, are already actively answering your questions as we go about the session. Thank you. So our next presentation would be from the UNSCAP, represented by Ms. Parvati Subha, and she will be presenting to us the impact-based forecasting for the seasonal outlook of the JJA 2026 season.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning to all distinguished speakers and my dear colleagues. So today I'll be sharing the ESCAP impact-based forecasting outlook for the current season, that is JJAS 2026. Let me quickly share my screen. Yes, I hope my screen is visible.
I'm sorry, can you switch your display? We can see the notes of your slides.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
That's better.
Okay. So today the objectives are twofold for the discussion. We will be presenting the outlook for the JJA season, and also we will be showing the latest digital product from ESCAP, which is the offline QGIS tool that can be easily used, and it is accessible in every system on the latest version of QGIS in your computers. So we will be showcasing the results based on the plugin output. So giving a bit of an introduction about the impact-based forecasting methodology that we use at ESCAP. So we take the seasonal outlook in the form of the temperature and the precipitation anomalies, and use the exposure data, including the population, agriculture, infrastructure data sets. And we combine these hazard and exposure layers to identify the risk hotspots and identify the patterns that are being shown for the current season. Why it matters? Because it provides policymakers a clearer understanding of the impact-based outlook. And with the new latest output, which is the QGIS plugin, we are able to generate reports within a matter of minutes, so that if you have the seasonal forecast outlook, you can already generate the IBF report for your region or your sub-region based on the exposure layers that is required. So a little bit of an introduction on the Rapid IBF tool. So the ESCAP has been supporting impact-based forecasting since 2021. And we already had an online version of this tool available in our ESCAP Risk and Resilience portal, where the seasonal forecast from every region is updated, and you can also access the historical seasonal data sets from this online portal. And what we basically do is we upload the seasonal forecast and instantly get the exposure results for agriculture, energy, and population count. So the data sets are readily available online, and you can check out the Rapid IBF online as well using the ESCAP Risk and Resilience portal. But today we will be discussing the offline version of the ESCAP Rapid IBF, which can be used in any QGIS software that you have in your system. Even if someone is very new to GIS, we have provided an easy-to-read technical guide in the website, which can be accessed, and you can use that guide to install this plugin and run the analysis on your own system. So what the plugin does is basically it can upload all the seasonal forecast data and the exposure data reclassify it based on your requirements, and generate the IBF report for that particular season. So today I'll be discussing the seasonal outlook results using the same plugin. As we know, the precipitation temperature anomalies have been already discussed at length, and we are aware that for the mainland Southeast Asia, this season, there's a mix of both near to above normal and below normal rainfall. But for the majority of region, the temperature anomaly is likely to be above normal. Once we have the seasonal outlook, as I mentioned earlier, we overlay it with the exposure layers. So for this context, we are using the total population count data from WorldPop. We also have the rice production data from FAO MapSpan. And we also use the power plants and the hydropower plant locations from the Asia Pacific Energy Portal. So using these exposure layers, we can generate the results for the different sectoral outlook using the seasonal outlook data. So coming to the first aspect, which is the potential impact of above normal precipitation on the total population, we can see that the main countries at risk are Vietnam, Philippines, and Myanmar. Especially in Vietnam, almost 65 million people are likely to be exposed to the above normal rainfall condition, out of which 64 million are exposed to the low likelihood. Coming to the moderate risk, we have in Philippines, 47 million people, which is almost half of the total population, will be likely to be exposed to the moderate likelihood. And similarly, in Myanmar, around 10 million people are likely to be exposed to the moderate risk of above normal rainfall. Coming to the below normal rainfall, mainly 3 countries are at risk, which is Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam. We will be coming to the details of below normal rainfall outlook in the other sectoral reports as well, which is the agriculture sector report and the energy sector report. Talking about the rising temperature risk, for this season, we expect above normal rainfall for almost all entire region of Southeast Asia, and especially at risk are the countries of Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam, with around 97 million people being likely to be exposed to high likelihood of above normal temperature in Vietnam. And in Philippines, we have around 99% of the total population, which is likely to be exposed to high likelihood of above normal temperatures. All the detailed reports will be available soon after in the form of the IBF reports that are generated using the QGIS plugin. Coming to the agriculture sector outlook, we have gone a step further to incorporate the seasonal nature of agriculture sector. So as we know, the temperature and precipitation outlook can have a different impact on each crop, and it can have a different impact based on the crop growing stage. So for the Southeast Asian region, we have considered rice as the main crop for the agriculture outlook. As we know, the rice crop is likely to be in the sowing and growing stage during this particular season. So we have considered that aspect into account while generating the IBF reports. If you visit the ESCAP Risk and Resilience portal, you will also be able to get a detailed idea of the methodology used for this purpose. And we have also provided the information on how the temperature and precipitation anomalies impact different crops at different crop growing stages as well. So for this context, we have the potential impact of above normal temperature on agriculture. As we can see in the charts, there are 3 countries which are likely to be at moderate to high risk. So in Vietnam, almost all of the total rice production in the country is exposed to high likelihood of above normal temperature. And in Thailand and Indonesia, we have around 30 million metric tons and 21 million metric tons of rice, which are likely to be exposed to high temperature anomaly. Coming to a similar aspect, which is the below normal rainfall impact on agriculture. As we know that the below normal rainfall and the above normal temperature can have a compound effect on the crop growing stage for the rice crop. And the increased water stress due to this rising temperature and reduced rainfall can have effect on the tillering, head development, and the grain filling stages for the rice crop. So there are 3 countries again that are likely to be affected by below normal rainfall. We can see that Indonesia, Philippines, and Vietnam are again in the list of highly exposed countries in terms of exposure to below normal rainfall in the season. Coming to above normal rainfall, we have parts of Vietnam, eastern and western parts of Myanmar, and also Thailand, whose rice production is exposed to above normal rainfall in the region. Now, equally important is the factor of considering the energy sector's contribution. So if you look at the seasonal outlook, what we have done here is for the energy sector, we have extracted the data for the power plant locations. We also have the data for the maximum capacity in megawatts for each of the hydropower plants. Apart from hydropower plants, we also have data on other sources of power plants, which include the nuclear, oil, and thermal sources. So here we can see the potential impact of precipitation on the hydropower plants. The charts show the number of plants which are exposed under each category of above or below normal rainfall. As we can see in the conclusion, nearly 77 power plants in Lao PDR are exposed to above normal rainfall. Similarly, in Myanmar and Philippines, we have around 50% of the total power plants are exposed to the likelihood of above normal rainfall. So usually in case of rainfall, as you know, rainfall is critical during this particular season, the JJAS season, for filling the reservoirs. And below normal rainfall condition is more challenging for the energy production in several countries. So we also have the outlook on below normal rainfall, which is provided here. As you can see from the earlier outlooks as well, Indonesia, Philippines, these are the countries which are likely to be exposed to below normal rainfall. In addition to the Indonesia and Philippines, we also have Malaysia under the radar for high likelihood of exposure to below normal rainfall, which is likely to affect the energy demand in these countries, as the supply of energy is dependent on a lot of hydropower production. So these are the outlooks that we have provided for the presentation, but we also have additional outlooks that are prepared for the total power plants and for other major crops in the region. So if anyone is interested, we can also provide the outlook for other exposure as well. Coming to the way forward, more detailed data which will help us in generating the sharper insights. As you know already, the data that we use are the global rasters that we have from FAO and from WorldPop. But if you have additional data sets, especially for agriculture or energy sector, and would like to display the impact-based forecasting result using the exposure data sets, then we will be happy to collaborate and help support the generation of IBF reports. The next steps also include, we have another project called ClimaWise, which is a tool, which is an adaptation focus tool, which will integrate different adaptation relevant indicators for the entire Asia Pacific region. It is going to be a user-friendly decision support tool. And we also have extended plans on integrating more deeper exposure analysis for the IBF outlooks. And we will have over the coming months, we will have sector specific applications of IBF beyond agriculture and the energy sector as well. Thank you so much. And I look forward to any questions you may have in the Q&A session.
All right, thank you, Ms. Subha. excellent presentation from the UNSCAP. So our participants can actually access this link and explore it, right? If they want. Yeah. So last but not the least, I'd like to call on again Ms. Telma A. Cinco, the project leader of the GCF funded project Multi-Hazard Impact-Based Forecasting and Early Warning System for the Philippines project, to present to us the our recent innovations and improvements of the GCF MIB-Fuse project. Ma'am, can you swap displays? We can see the notes. The button is located at the top of the screen. Yeah. That's better, much better.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests and delegates, colleagues, and partners from the ASEAN region. It is an honor to present the Philippines' ongoing efforts in advancing impact-based forecasting and early warning systems through our MIB-Fuse project. So the Philippines is exposed to several hazards, such as tropical cyclones that could lead to severe winds, floods, storm surges, and landslides. That increasing climate variability and intensifying extreme weather events are placing greater pressure on national and local disaster preparedness systems. So this challenge is no longer only forecasting hazard accurately, but the bigger challenge is ensuring that forecasts lead to timely and effective decision before impacts occur. So what are the key identified gaps in the early warning system? First is the disconnect between forecasts and actions. Traditional forecasts explain what the weather will be, but often fail to explain what communities should do. Technical language limits understanding among non-technical users, and forecasts must evolve into decision support tools as well. The second gap is gaps in science communication and information utilization. Weak linkage between information providers and end users, and limited translation of forecasts into actionable and user-centered information. And the third is the fragmented linkages between preparedness and response. Existing systems are still heavily response-oriented. Investments are often mobilized after impacts have already occurred. Preparedness and anticipatory action remain weakly institutionalized. So the GCF, the first GCF project that we have in the Philippines is approved in 2019, but implementation was affected by COVID-19. So we start accessing our funds 2023. Besides these challenges, the project were able to sustain its commitment in institutionalized anticipatory and impact-based approaches despite operational constraints. So I said, this is the first GCF project. Then the project covers 4 pilots representing different hazard contexts in the Philippines: Tuguegarao, severe wind and flood; Legazpi City, severe wind and flood; Palo Leyte, severe wind and storm surge; and New Bataan, Davao de Oro, severe wind and landslide. These sites were selected because they represent highly exposed and hazard-prone localities. The project design ensures that methodologies can later be scaled nationally. So the overall goal of the project is to increase resilience and enhance livelihoods of vulnerable communities. MIB-Fuse is fundamentally a people-centered resilience initiative. The focus is not only reducing mortality, but also minimizing livelihood disruption, displacement, and long-term socioeconomic losses. The MIPUTS adopts a multi-agency implementation structure. PAGASA, we implement 4 outputs. So the PAGASA leads the output 1, leads hazard forecasting and impact-based forecasting development, together with MGB that does the landslide. And Office of the Civil Defense leads preparedness and response and integration. So output 2, we develop the impact and response table and also the knowledge decision support tool that will be used by the project. Then Department of Interior Local Government supports localization and institutionalization of the LGU level, while the World Food Program, mainly lead in the output 3, contributes in the anticipatory action and humanitarian coordination expertise. This demonstrates that effective early warning system require institutional interoperability, not isolated technical systems. So output 4 is the mainstreaming that will be led by the Department of Interior Local Government. So again, the key identified gaps in the early warning system, how we address that. So we adopt the WMO framework for impact-based forecasting. The project bridges providers, the first mile, and to the last mile, the users of weather information. This major shift from one-way forecast dissemination toward collaborative risk communication. Forecasts are transformed into impact assessment, recommended action, and decision triggers. The objective is to ensure that forecasts lead directly to preparedness and anticipatory action. So we also adopt the 4x4 matrix in terms of that incorporates impact severity and forecast uncertainty. The X is the impact level, and the Y is the likelihood of the impact. But then we try to change for the Philippine context the color. So wherein the severe will all be red, and the significant will be orange, and minor will be yellow. For responders, they will also see the 4x4, but for the public, they will only see the one-dimensional, the color. So how do we do that? By addressing how we compute for the impact. So by integrating hazard, exposure, and vulnerability. Then first, of course, the hazard modeling. For example, there is a tropical cyclone. PAGASA issues a track. This example is Super Typhoon 1. Then transform that into severe wind. Then number 2 is exposure mapping or exposure data. So the local exposure data set are identify building types, infrastructure, and exposed assets. So in here, for the 4 project site, it shows you the distribution of the typology of the houses that being used in the project. We partnered with the UPI, University of the Philippines, for development of the vulnerability curves. So the third one is the vulnerability curve. So for all the building types, we look at the fragility curves that is slight, moderate, extensive, and severe. So in here is the impact assessment, wherein the threshold is being conferred with stakeholders, like minimal is less than 1%, minor is 1 to 30% damage, 30 to 70 is significant, and greater than 70 is higher. So this is how then the percentage of structures are affected are used as a thresholds, and there is an equivalent hazard. So in here shows you for if the local government units have their own exposure data, we could have a specific threshold for the different impact level. But without the detailed exposure data, then we use the general, assuming there is a homogeneous building types across the area. So here you'd see Tugigaraw and Legazpi and also Batanes has a higher trigger for a severe. Then for like Palo and also New Bataan has a lesser threshold for going to severe. So we intend to have this nationwide for the severe wind, and we intend to use the PSA data using the CBMS data for the exposure database. So here is an example of issuance of O1 last year. Internally, we've been issuing it for the project sites. But here is, for example, the areas, the area is for first issuance, second issuance, and the third issuance. So if it's a minimal, there you only in the text we issue the likelihood. Here is example wherein you have your society and economy, housing and buildings, agri, transport, health and safety, and lifeline and utilities. So if they have the detailed exposure data, then we're able to get the population, female and male, PWD, senior citizens, and so on. And for the buildings, in terms of wood, masonry, concrete, and steel. For this example, you see as early as 6 or next 3 days, there is an expected landfall. The severe model is able to provide forecast which area likely to experience impacts. For Dinalungan, for example, the impact level is translated into like significant or issued at November 9. Then issued at November 7, low likelihood of severe, and 10, very low likelihood of minimal. November 8, medium likelihood of severe and low likelihood of minimal by 10. And this will be in a calendar base, but on the actual, it's significant. So that is a sample. And this one is for other areas. If there is no forecasted impact, then there will be no issued on November 10. So that is how we intend to have that. Another one that we have done is by establishing the national impact tables per sector. So I said we have the housing and buildings. So for the impact warnings that we have, we use the housing and buildings. Then we have health and safety, lifeline and utilities, transport, and agri. So what we did here is we have a focus group discussion for the sectors to do their impact statement as well as response and their threshold as well. So that is also done for the different hazard that we address. So the same methodology, the UPIs also develop vulnerability curves for floods, storm surge, and landslide. So this is the sample of issuance for flood, storm surge, and landslide. Landslide is issued by the Mines and Geoscience of DNR. So here, how we develop the impact table and response table. So it takes time from bottom approach to national as well. So the sector and also did a sector validation. So next week, we'll also meet with them again since we're about to operationalize in terms of confirming their threshold as well for the different sectors. So here are some of the pictures that we have to ensure that these thresholds are operationally relevant and actionable. Extensive consultation and technical workshops were conducted with sectoral experts and government stakeholders. So this process ensured that the threshold reflect existing operational practices, sector-specific vulnerabilities, and actual decision-making requirements at both national and local levels. So here is a sample beyond forecasting impacts. The project also developed response tables. This link projected impacts to recommended preparedness and response actions. This creates a direct operational bridge between forecast and action. The system therefore supports anticipatory decision-making instead of reactive response. And here, WFP worked with us in terms of working with the pilot areas in doing the crisis timeline. So how they use the IBF warning as well as existing products and services of PAGASA from the TC threat 2 weeks to a 3-day for the IBF. So they identify what are the anticipatory actions from from 15 days from our TC threat down to our IBF as well. So here is a sample of again, I have seen earlier for the SCAP, they already have that platform. So we're still developing that platform from first mile to last mile. It will be a role base wherein from forecasters role base, their left side is the dashboard for forecasters wherein they could adjust the issuance of the actual warning, and also a local dashboard wherein they could look into the specific area and the calendar as well as the number of population and so on. So this is still ongoing, the development of our risk tool. So this is a mock tool wherein could be used by the different sectors wherein they could access and do their risk assessment. So it will be a role base. So if the local government units have their own data, they could also use their detailed exposure data as well. So here, for the second gap in science communication and information, so here, link impact-based forecasting, what the weather will be to what the weather will do. So we link with the with effective when they translate into actions. IBF, our goal is to bridge the gap between the providers and weather information and the last mile users. So the for the PIDRA scenario building, as we said, the MIPUs will come in the exposure, understanding, and the risk. And of course, for the beyond pre-disaster risk assessment, the MIPUs project is also developing a strategic communication plan to address the gaps in science communication, wherein the 4 pillars of early warning for all, we address the risk knowledge of detection, communication, and response, wherein we address it by having a stratcom with strategies and mechanism as well as different components. So this one is communication framework that ties everything together. These outcomes are achieved through the 4 pillars of early warning for all, with its specific communication role, and cutting across everything is the Dead Sea framework, ensuring that every strategy and every message in this plan is designed with most vulnerable in mind. No one gets left behind. So from the national level to local level and to the community level, direct engagement and inclusive communication. So here are the goal, operational as well as strategic objective. So this one is go beyond the project, wherein the stratcom, wherein the first, the short term, medium term, and the long term, it become institutionalized and sustained action. So that one is led by the DILT, and also their existing LISTO protocol is already being aligned to the IBF, and they have their Charlie is the severe, wherein the pre-impact impacts, and they have done that for the Bravo is for their significant, and Alpha is minor. So these are done, and I think I have so many fragmented linkages. So here in the Philippines, we had recently enacted the RA 12287, or the Declaration of State of Imminent Disaster Act. This is a landmark policy reform supporting anticipatory action. The law allows governments to mobilize resources before impacts occur based on forecasted severe impacts. So the MIPUs will serve as a tool for this law as well, in terms of prepositioning, preemptive evacuation, anticipatory financing, and early intervention. So who will declare? It is from the president or the NDMC or the local, and then basis of declaration, it is from the PIDRA, and recommending body is from the NDMC and criteria for declaration is from the forecast and projection. So currently, they're looking at mid-views to be if you are forecasting on the next 3 days as severe. So source of funding, they could have the GAA, then also this portion of local DRM fund dedicated for anticipatory action. This law was helped by other NGOs as well, and that's why we are still working on the IRR to be signed, and it's a no-regret approach. If hazard forecast change, the bill adopts a no-regret policy, meaning that any anticipatory action taken are designed to still benefit communities, even if the expected disaster does not occur or predicted. So despite progress, several challenges remain: model uncertainties, institutional readiness, and decision-making acceptance. And of course, IBF requires confidence not only in science, but also in governance, systems, and institutional culture. Sustained investment in capacity development, communication, and operationalization remain necessary. The future of early warning system lies not only in improving forecasts, but improving the ability of institutions and communities to act early and to act decisively. And with that, thank you. As climate risks continue to intensify across ASEAN region, regional cooperation in impact-based forecasting and anticipatory action becomes increasingly important, as we see that the IBF for seasonal forecast shared by ESCAP earlier can be replicated to our countries as well. So thank you for that sharing, and I look forward for our continued collaboration toward a more resilient ASEAN region. Thank you and maraming salamat.
All right. Thank you, Ma'am Telma. Again, another excellent presentation. Looking forward to see and use that tool, ma'am. So these are just one of the innovations and projects that PAGASA is doing to improve our capacities and ultimately help our stakeholders respond accordingly to any hazards that they may face. So at this point, we have already finished all the presentations, and I am now opening the floor for any questions that you may have for our presenters. So in the interest of time, as much as we want to answer all your questions, we will only accommodate at least 2 to 3 questions perhaps. So don't worry if we will be providing you with our email address to send in your questions to our resource person. So I can see that we have 2 answered questions, so I'll skip that. And we have 3 open questions, so perhaps we can stick with these 3 questions. So again, don't worry, we will send you our email address to send in your questions to our resource person. So first question from Ton Dorun. So the question is, according to the impact of El Nino this year, what would be the, I think it's recommended for sector to consider to respond to the impact? So perhaps at least in the Philippine context, Ma'am Ana or Ma'am Telma could answer the question.
Yeah, maybe for the ASEAN. Maybe. Yeah, please. For the whole ASEAN.
Oh, for the whole ASEAN region. So, Thea, do you have any inputs on this?
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. I'll also answer on behalf of Pure, who had to leave because it was very, very early in the morning for him. I think from his earlier presentation, we saw that while in general, when we think of El Nino for the ASEAN region, we think increased chance of drier and warmer conditions, that this really depends on the time of year and the location you are. So the response will really depend on which sector you're in and what time of the year is of most concern. But we already heard through SCAT's presentation as well that many sectors could be affected. Of course, agriculture, but also health, disaster risk reduction, water resources, a big one as well. So I mean, even at from ASMC's point of view, while we can provide some regional inputs, really, I think if you're interested at the national level, it's good to contact the NMHSs because they will be the authority about the impacts at the national and subnational level, and also help perhaps work together to come up with actions that can be taken. Thanks.
Yes. Thanks, Thea. Do you have any additional inputs, Ma'am Ana? Okay. So, I'll go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah. So in the case of the Philippines, so there has been a lot of coordination meetings among the national government concerned agencies through the National Task Force on El Nino. So with this potential impact of impending El Nino, so the National Task Force on El Nino convenes and considering all five pillars, namely the agriculture, for food and food security, the energy, the health, the water resources sector, and public safety. So with this task force at El Nino, with the pursuant to the Executive Order number 54 on the reconstitution and reactivating of the task force El Nino, so the national government, together with the local government, has already established the Strategic National Action Plan for El Nino since 2023-2024 El Nino. And with this impending 2026-2027 El Nino, so we are now revisiting and try to update all the strategic action plans written for those pillars, or for those five important sectors. So coordination, meeting, and dialogue is ongoing, including different, not only the national as well as the local, but including the private sector as well. So this is the coordinated agency, a whole of nation and a whole of government affairs.
All right. Thank you so much, Ma'am Ana and Thea, for answering this question. Let's move forward. Another question is from Wileng. This question is directed to Tencho. So his question is, Tencho, what is your opinion on applying the framework on other sectors like disaster risk reduction, health, or collaboration with others?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And yes, this is a very good question. To be straightforward, yes, that this can be replicated to any other sector. In fact, this framework is not just limited to agriculture sector, by the way. If you go through the Global Framework for Climate Services, or WMO, or even their guidance on the National Framework for Climate Services, actually the National Framework for Climate Services should consist of all the sectors. So this framework should consist of all the sectors. But for the starting, because bringing together all the sectors and then implementing this framework would be very difficult. So the best approach is taking an phase-wise approach and prioritizing the sectors. So since if you closely works with Department of Agriculture, so we thought that we will start this framework with the Department of Agriculture in collaboration with PAGASA. Yes, you can definitely replicate this in other sector, and I would also recommend have this as a nationalized framework across all sectors, but then take it as a phase-wise, so that you can really find out whether this kind of framework is really working or not. So yes, it can work, but take it phase-wise, prioritizing your sector, and then lessons learned, you can actually move on. Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
All right, thank you, Tencho. Another question from Dr. Jaime Bordales, one of our colleagues from the GCF-APA project. So to Ms. Parvata Subha, the question is your IBF designed primarily for the main crops, such as rice or corn, or is it adaptable for various crops within the ASEAN region? So did you develop an impact table for each crop?
So we have it currently for rice, wheat, and maize. So FAO MapSpam has, I think, 46 main crops for which the crop production layers are available. Apart from that, if there's any other exposure data source that we can use for the ASEAN region specifically, we can always implement that using the data that we have. But currently, as we're using the FAO MapSpan, we'll be able to provide the IBF IEF sectoral outlook for the 46 main crops that has been identified. Yeah.
All right. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Subha. I think we still have time. We're supposed to end at 12:30, but it's only 12:05. So I think we can still accommodate at least these remaining questions that I can see at the Q&A box. So from an anonymous attendee, the question is, have there also been observations on whether these El Nino conditions have correlated with catastrophic levels of disasters in the past, which may potentially recur in the future? So perhaps Thea can answer this question.
Yeah, in terms of catastrophic disasters, I cannot say, but I do know that there was a report a few years ago, actually from the SCAP, was led by looking at under El Niños, or especially stronger El Niños. This is when we, in Southeast Asia, tend to see the most extensive drought conditions. I believe our colleague from the AHA Center has also stepped off, but I just wanted to, they recently actually pointed out in a discussion that it's not just the disasters themselves, but also the response. They were sharing about a disaster, nothing actually not related to any sort of climate phenomenon, but because of high temperatures, it actually increased heat stress for those responding to the disaster as well. So while I can't say anything about catastrophic disasters, El Nino and warmer and drier conditions may also impact how we respond to them, any that do occur.
All right. Thanks, Thea. Another question from an anonymous attendee. So perhaps I think ENSO can answer this, or anyone from FAO. So how can anticipatory action be implemented in storm-prone regions of developing countries without the involvement of NGOs? Anyone from our panel?
Maybe I'll take that first, but I'll also request Madam Thelma to do that. They have been working together with WFP on the anticipated. But based on my personal experience, working with the government for the past decades, yes, definitely you can do the anticipatory action yourself. Because the main reason why agencies are doing with NGO is because at the end of the day, we are taking care of the most vulnerable communities that are hard hit by the hazards, and then we need to compensate them. Though it's not always that government has allocated funds to support those. So that's where the NGOs or other international donors come into play to really support in terms of financial, but of course also in terms of the technical capacities in implementing anticipated action. Because when you implement anticipated action, it's not just one window, meaning just heavy rainfall and you act on that one. So it involves a range of players, a lot of process. So it's always good to work with key partners, exchanging knowledge and technology. I would always recommend it. But definitely you can do it, but you also need to have all the resources and infrastructures in place before you do that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, perhaps Ma'am Thelma can add to this question.
So I could only talk for the context of the Philippines, wherein the NGOs help us in having our enacted law, the 12287, in the Declaration of State of Eminent Disaster Act. So this one is now going to be used in the country, wherein anticipatory actions will be triggered through our mid-use warning, so forecast. So basically, one enabling is policy as well as our impact-based forecasting. So in the Philippines, we had this harmonization because the NGOs has different triggers as well in the anticipatory action. But again, the enabling policy as well as an environment where all actors, national as well as NGO, come up with a framework that is localized within your country, because each country has its own way of responding in their DRR as well. But anticipatory action can also be shared on how we do it. And I think IBF is the way, because in IBF, you were able to forecast at least 3 days ahead for you to be able to access to resources. But again, uncertainty is still a challenge for us modelers as well. But the way to go is to enhance our communication to address how to communicate uncertainty, and also how the people will act before an impact will occur. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mama. Thanks, Ma'am Telma. Miss Anna is raising her hand.
Yeah, because I can put my question as a panelist, but I have question to Ms. Parvati Suba. Yeah. So you have mentioned that there is ongoing development of the adaptation tool called ClimaWise. So may we ask if there will be possibilities that in the next ASEAN COP sessions, and this could since this is a good tool that could be utilized by the ASEAN region and among MNCs, would there be possibilities in the next ASEAN COP sessions? This could serve as some of pre-COP capacity building activities within the ASEAN region. Are there plans? Thank you.
Ms. Parvati? Can we use that the CleanWise for the pre-COP session? I think she dropped on the call. She's still here, Ms. Parvati?
Sorry, I think I lost my internet connectivity in between. Was there a question about the ClimaWise?
Yes, Ma'am Anna, can you please repeat your question? Ma'am Anna is actually asking if we can utilize the ClimaWise tool developed by UNESCAP, perhaps in the next session of the ASEAN COP capacity building. Yes.
Yes, I think by the next session in the October, right? I think it will be ready at least in the first initial stage. So right now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to map out the adaptation, different adaptation practices in agriculture, energy sector, and in the wash sector. So we're trying to map out the geocoordinates of the different adaptations, and also trying to identify what are the key risks associated with each of those regions, which the adaptation is trying to resolve. So we are hoping that this will be ready by the next session, so that we can have an initial presentation on that aspect as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. So I think I can squeeze in these two last question for our session. So a question from an anonymous attendee: why have there been almost no cyclones in the Indian Ocean this year, March, April, and May 2026? And why has global cyclone activity been comparatively low? I think Thea can answer this one.
I was going to say we're not at the end of May yet, so come back for ASEAN COP in October. I'm not sure, actually, our PAGASA colleagues, if they want to answer, because PAGASA actually lead the effort around tropical cyclones for the Southeast Asia Regional Climate Center Network. So they may have something more to add. Otherwise, I'll just say good question, and do come back in October and we can discuss more.
Perhaps Ma'am Telma or Ma'am Anna have inputs on this about the almost no cyclones in the Indian Ocean.
So, PAGASA, as the consortium member of the Lead Center for Climate Monitoring Lead Center for Long-Range Seasonal Forecasting, together with the ASMC, we only provide tropical cyclone frequency forecasts for Southeast Asia that are developed in the Southwest Pacific, in the Pacific. But for now, we still don't have that kind of forecast or prediction for what is happening in India. So perhaps maybe in the next series, and we'll try to coordinate with the SASCOP, Miss Thea, maybe with the South Asia, because most of the tropical cyclone activity in Indian Ocean is being discussed at the SASCOP, the South Asia Climate Outlook Forum. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mamana and Thea. For our last question from Ms. Margie Sirigar. So this question is for the UN SCAP for Ms. Parvati. Is the UN SCAP plugin used for micro level like village or district level so the community can quantify their risk themselves to operationalize their anticipatory action and response?
Absolutely. So the plugin was designed keeping in mind that there will be requirements from the user to generate the impact-based report at the subnational, the regional, or at the local level. So all we need to do is we need to have the admin boundary level layer for the village or the locality that we are concerned with. And once we have that boundary layer, anybody can run the QGIS plugin using the seasonal forecast outlook and the population or agriculture exposure. And the only difference that we need to do is adding the boundary. And if we are focusing on the local level, we can immediately generate the impact report at the local level.
All right.
So currently, just adding on one more point, that currently we are adapting the tool to include more local languages. So if anybody is interested in collaborating on that aspect to add, local language reports for the plugin, we would be very happy to collaborate on that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, UNSCAP. So, all right, that's it. If you have any more questions, we will be providing you our email address at the chat box so that you can send in your questions to our resource person. So again, thanks everyone, especially to our resource persons for answering the questions for this open forum. And we now move forward to the last part of our program. So we will be flashing on your screen a QR code for our participants to answer and evaluate the ASEAN-COF 26. So feel free to put in any comments or suggestions that you would like us to address. So another announcement, as mentioned by Ms. Anna earlier, so the draft consensus outlook for the JJA 2026 is yet to be finalized, and we are requesting our partner ASEAN NMHS to kindly evaluate and put in your comments if you have any corrections for the finalized document until the 27th of May 2026, 09 UTC. Okay, so that's it. Once again, big thanks to our presenters. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, perhaps we can have a group photo with the webinar participants, and I think we can maybe ask the WMT to.
I think, Prashant, is it possible to promote the participants to panelists so that they can turn on their cameras? I think is it possible? I'm sorry. It's unfortunately, Prashant cannot promote the participants to panelists. Yes, it's too many people. But we thank everyone for your participation in this, the last day of our ASEAN-COF. So once again, the QR code flashed on your screen. Kindly answer the evaluation form and then put in any comments that you like or that you would like us to address.
Thank you, and see you again in the next ASEAN-COF 2027 and 2027. But in November, I'll be retired by then. So thank you for this opportunity to having met you all.
Thank you, Ma'am Thelma.
And hope you're going to have a productive ASEAN 2027. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Big thanks to Jeremiah as well. Excellent job emceeing.
Yeah, Jeremiah.
Fantastic.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
everyone
sir.
for joining. Thank you.
Yes, excellent job to Jeremiah and all PAGASA colleagues. This has been really great. Ajankov, thank you so much. And Madam Thalba, yes, thanks also for all your support for this Ajankov, but also very past Ajankov. I think this is actually the third time the Philippines have hosted, and yeah, every time you do a great job. So thank you very much.
Thank you as
Thank you.
well, Ben and Thea, as well as our invited panelists, Tencho and Parvati. Thank you for sharing. And from Erie as well, our partner, a very strong partner from Erie. So again,
Delma.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. So once again, we look forward to seeing you in the next ASEAN-COF 27 this November. So stay safe and have a pleasant day ahead. Thanks, everyone.